Welcome to the Professional Women's Wellness Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Peggy Gleason, creator of the Mindful Eating Approach, where I help professional women and business owners with a tailored path to weight loss and self-confidence without the stress of restrictive diets, time-consuming exercise regimes, or medications. I help you transform your eating habits to enhance all areas of your wellness, and we always offer inspiration, motivation, and education with amazing gifts. I'm so excited to have our next guest today. This woman is very powerful and extremely skilled with healing. Dori Staehle is the owner of Next Stage Drumming and the one and only certified drum therapist in the state of North Carolina. She's also an inspirational speaker, percussionist, author, and mentor. A freak accident in 2011 caused Dori to discover how to use drumming to boost both mental and physical health. She has since helped thousands of children and adults focus, feel better, and find their joy. Welcome to the Professional Women's Wellness Podcast. Dori, I'd love to start by asking you how you came about drumming and a little bit about your past so we kind of fill in the gaps, okay?
Sure. Most people think that I drummed as a kid, and no, none of that. I auditioned for a rock and church band. We're talking a rock band in a church. So a lot of people don't realize that, here in North Carolina and elsewhere, you have contemporary worship with, a large band. And so, yeah, I signed up to audition at age 47 with no experience and no lessons. But I thought, well, I've always had rhythm. I can keep a beat, I think, I hope. Let's find out. So they had a program, that they were handing out. Would you like to audition for the band? I checked yes. And my husband and our son said, you did what now? I said, I signed up to audition. They said, but you don't know how to play. I said, well, they don't know that. So let's see what happens. It was on my bucket list. I always wanted to see if I could do it since I was a little girl. I always wanted to be a drummer. But back in those days, yes, folks, I'm that old. There were no female rock drummers, none. So, that was my aspiration. My dad said, no drums, they're too loud. We lived in a two-family house. So I got a guitar instead and dance lessons. So I knew through tap and jazz, hey, if I can tap my feet to the beat, maybe I can tap hand drums. We're not talking the full drum set. That came much later. We're talking bongos and conga drums. So you see the green ones behind my shoulder there in the corner? Those are congas. So it was mostly Latin percussion, but to rock songs and Christian contemporary songs. So I figured I just need to follow the beat. I followed the drummer, tambourine and shakers on the chorus for some of the songs. I got the groove, and they said, okay, great, we'll see you Sunday. I said, this Sunday, like in just a few days from now? And yeah, so I passed the audition. And when I was drumming, though, I realized, wow, this really makes me feel good. It's both calming and energizing at the same time because, you're hitting a drum with your hands and the vibrations go through your body. And it's like, this is so cool. And I wondered, is there science behind this? I wanted to know because, you never know. And one of my students, I had business number 1 was Next Stage Educational Services. I was a tutor and educational consultant. I was tutoring actually a lot of very bright, creative kids who were mislabeled. I figured out they were gifted, but one of the students said, Miss Dori, that's how Ritalin and Adderall work. I went, oh, maybe we found a natural solution. Let's find out. So Googling the science, is there such thing as drum therapy? Found out there is. So I found an organization called Drums and Disabilities, and I got certified as a drum therapist. It's a relatively new field, so if you haven't heard of it, that's probably why. The founder, Paco Swaldo, is a rock drummer. So I thought this is right up my alley. I did go for specialized training with both organizations are international, another international organization known as Health Rhythms, but that was more for like drum circle facilitators, not really my vibe. but they had a at-risk protocol. I thought, well, who knows? I might work with at-risk youth and populate, and it turns out I did much later. So I'll learn this too. So got both things under my belt, and I'm thinking this is pretty cool. But I really loved playing, with a band. And then when I took it out, took the Dori show on the road there, I started just doing some fun events. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I knew that people were feeling different. Even just a fun, free event, did a lot of those to raise brand awareness in the beginning. And people were saying, wow, this feels so good. And they said the same thing. They feel relaxed and energized. And most of them said they feel joy. Some felt peace. Some came in and they had physical issues like, oh, Dori, I came in here with shoulder pain or back pain and now it's gone. And I'm like, what? It blew my mind. So I had to think of other ways. How can this be used? Because when I was going out there, everybody thought, oh, Dori does drum circles. And I thought, but that's not really my vibe. And I want to add more science to the mix and a rock vibe. We always close out with a rock tune. I take requests, rock, pop, funk, as long as it's clean and it has a good beat. I can improvise and show people how to play, the basic parts, and then they feel like rock stars when they leave. So it's very cool. Works really well for corporate events, even virtually. I've done virtual corporate wellness. I've done also lots of events for nonprofits, people coming in. Anxiety and stress relief after COVID were the two biggest. It used to be ADHD because of my tutoring and consulting background. I was known as an ADHD specialist, so I could see how hand drumming, especially also drumming on the drum set, can sync up the left and right hemispheres of your brain so you can focus better. And here's why. It's the only instrument where it's a full body and brain experience. You are moving your hands and crossing midlines. So special needs parents know exactly what I'm talking about when I say midline and brain integration. That's why they're the most likely clients to reach out, because they get it. They get how drumming can help their kids focus better. It's also good for emotional regulation. If you're angry or your kid's angry, instead of punching a hole in a wall or hurting someone, hit a drum. It's a great release. I had no idea that so many different ways drumming can be used until people started asking, Dori, can it help with this? Can it help with that? So I created customized programs based on what the individual or the organization needs. And it works really well and really quickly. So who knew that a fun hobby of drumming would turn out to be something that would be a highly effective health and wellness tool that anyone can do? Nearly all of my clients had never touched a drum before. If you can count, you can drum. It's one surface. I use, a djembe drum. Again, people look at this and go, that looks like an African drum. I don't do African drumming. So it just happens to be a very lightweight, affordable drum that's easy to take out and teach people how to play it. So, yeah.
So I know in your bio, you mentioned you had done your own healing. And so what happened there? Tell us a little bit more so we understand.
Sure. Yeah. It was a freak accident. I had a day job. Now that was, during the recession around 2009. And my two businesses that I was doing while our kids were homeschooling, the educational services company and Next Stage Entertainment. I found, groomed, and booked over 900 local young bands and solo artists. I would pair them together for shows and concerts, teen band nights at local community centers and things, and mentored the kids so that they would get better as musicians and get some more high-paying gigs, which I found for them. So I had those two businesses, but they were kind of drying up a little bit, and I didn't know why. And I thought, okay, I'm going to need a plan B. So this job came up in marketing and sales. And again, it was a fluke kind of thing. I met somebody at a dinner, and he said, wow, we need to hire you. And I thought, okay. They created a position for me. I got a company car, an expense account, a laptop, a phone. I thought, well, this is pretty cool. Got to travel up and down the East Coast doing presentations. So none of my teachers are probably still alive from when I was little, but all those notes that I got written up for talks too much. I got paid to speak.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
So what's not to like? So we had a weekend event outdoors at a courtyard, at the company. They invited the families and all this. They had refreshments. I was just standing there minding my own business, talking to some of these families, and a family said, "Dori, can you come over here? I have to ask you a question." So I stepped forward just in time to hear Dori look out from a coworker behind me. I turned to my left, and here's some kid flying on a bicycle, not a Harley.
Oh,
No, a 10 speed. And he knocked me for a loop. I went flying. So I always joke at my talks and workshops, how far can a skinny chick fly? Pretty far, apparently. And I've got no padding. So bam. And I'd never hit the ground, but it was a really, really strong impact. I mean, the G-force on that, and I'm pretty tiny, so not a whole lot of body weight to protect the fall. But the good thing is, and this might freak some people out, but I'm a person of faith. I did hear the Holy Spirit say, "Dori, lean back," very quietly. And I didn't know why. And I did, but I still got hit. So I thought, well, that's weird. Found out many years later from my doctor, oh, it's a good thing you leaned back, because if the handlebars hit your chest instead of your arm, you would have died on impact. Ooh,
wow.
It would have hit my heart instead of my arm. And she said, and by the way, your arm should have shattered, but it was like barely bruised. So that was cool. But I spun a lot. As a former runner and dancer, I know how to break a fall. So I knew if I tucked my head would hit the bricks. It was a brick courtyard, because I thought, that's going to be terrible as well. Anyway, so I didn't hit the bricks, but something definitely happened on the way down. And I knew it later, but I didn't want anybody else to know that I was feeling pain. We were doing lots of workshops and presentations. So I just made the goalpost sign and said, "We're good, touchdown."
So talk about resilience, right? Resilience.
I got to keep the audience happy, right? Everybody get back in the building. We're going to go back to our presentations. Meanwhile, I'm thinking, oh man, this doesn't feel good. And I found out much, much later, because I knew things were swelling up. So I'm going to fast forward. I had to quit the job. After a couple of months, I realized I was in too much pain 24/7. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't move. I couldn't bend. I had numbness on my right side. I had brain fog. I was mixing up words for things and shooting tailbone pain. And the doctors had no idea what it was. After 3 years, I just said, look, I am just so done with this. I'm tired of being in pain. I need to find out what this is. Something is pressing against my tailbone, and I need to figure this out. I love solving medical mysteries. I did it a lot for a lot of my tutoring students, and found out they didn't need a Ritalin and Adderall because there was something else going on. No one was looking at the underlying issues that were triggering the symptoms. So the doctors were prescribing painkillers, muscle relaxers. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do anything until I know what this is. So I went for an MRI, and I found out that there were cysts all over my spine. Well, that would explain it.
No kidding.
Yes.
Wow.
And so I looked at the notes from the slides from the MRI, and it said Tarlov cysts. I asked the young tech, what is that? He goes, I don't know. Ask your doctor. And I thought, oh, great. They're going to say pre-existing condition, because by that point, I had to go to assigned doctors. So when you get injured at work, no one's your friend. I'll leave it at that. So sure enough, they said pre-existing condition. I said, I didn't have this before. So I looked up my symptoms. People don't do this online. And I Googled Tarlov cysts and found out it's a rare neurological degenerative condition. There is no cure. So my condition was going to get progressively worse. And I saw some of the pictures and videos online that mostly affects women. I thought, oh, this looks awful. I didn't have 80 grand to go to Minnesota and have an operation. There were only 2 doctors in the US that even know what this is. And there's a strong possibility the cysts will grow back. So when you get knocked down, folks, physically or just metaphorically speaking, every one of us has had something that has come at us from left field and totally threw us for a loop. It could be a layoff. It could be a divorce. It could be, a death in the family. It could be loss of a business. It could be anything, right?
Yes.
So you have a choice. You can either give up or you can reach up and rise up. And I did both. I reached up to God and I said, I have nothing. What do you got? Give me a way to heal myself and heal others, because, and I'm going to be real transparent here because there might be somebody out there who needs to hear this. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and we're recording this in May, so I'm going for it. I almost gave up in a big way. I had my exit planned out. I was going to leave. I was done. I wasn't bringing in any money, 3 years without income. I barely had any clients. I was doing some business coaching at the time, and also academic coaching and things like that. But it was like, what's the point? Am I going to die? So ask yourself the following. If you only have 1 year to live, what would you change? Would you keep doing what you're doing, or would you make some changes? So the answer that I got to the question, give me a way to heal myself and heal others, was, Dori, open your eyes. I already did. Use the drums. And I went, oh, on me. Wow. So when people think drumming on you, what does Dori mean? I meant I drummed for my life. So I already knew some specific beats and rhythms, but I got some divine downloads of other ways to drum that I had never been taught, and I certainly wouldn't drum this way in a band. So I took a djembe, and I just did some basic beats. But I hit it really hard because I was really mad at the doctors and the insurance companies. And I drummed using that djembe drum, and wait for it, a Native American buffalo drum. This is not authentic. No animals were harmed in the making of this drum. It's purely synthetic. And so I knew I had tears in my shoulder. Boom, 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 boom. My knee.
Right over your injury.
Right over the body part that was injured. Ankle. Back. And the vibrations of this drum, everybody loves it. I've had so many women wanting to buy one of these off of me. And I only have one, but I can give you a link to purchase one. And djembes too, because they realize if you do this on a consistent basis, hey, it not only burns calories, but studies have shown that it can reduce your blood pressure, right? It boosts your immune system. It recalibrates things so that you really do feel more connected. I always say, I'm connecting with the heartbeat of God, but you're also connecting with others. And I remember seeing a show on PBS with a young man with autism. And he says when he drums, he feels like his brain clicks together. That's what happens. The left and right hemispheres click together, so that's how you can focus better. I've seen clients who have had boosts in creativity, in productivity. Their mood is enhanced. They feel more hopeful. They're sleeping better. I have had kids on the autism spectrum. One kid was nonverbal. He started speaking words after the third session.
Oh my goodness.
What is going on here? And just women who are, just totally feeling so much better, and their beat changes when they work with me. 88% of my private clients have experienced a breakthrough in 8 sessions or less. 54% have experienced a breakthrough in 3 sessions or less. And even at corporate events, whether it's virtually or in person, we poll the studio audience on a scale from 1 to 5. What are your stress levels in the beginning of even if it's a 30-minute program, in the beginning, and then we rate it at the end. And they always go from really high stress levels down to 0, 1, maybe 2, but nothing higher than a 2. So it's easy to do, and if you do it on a regular basis, I drummed 15 minutes to a half an hour a day, 10 days. That was it, 10 days. Now, I can't guarantee miraculous healing because there were other things that happened in that room during that time frame that would freak most people out. But, I was hearing things, I was given instructions, I was saying things. So I do this when I drum with people. We do some deep breathing. I say some affirmations. If they're coming from a Christian background, I'll do some Bible verses. But we'll
Mm-hmm.
say things to let them know. I'll give you my full thing here. That, ready? Everything is going to be okay. You can rise up. You can rock this. You don't have to be stuck. You can change things. Are you ready? And their beat actually changes from a very basic, very tentative tap, tap, tap. I'll say, is that all you got? Hit that thing. And then it gets really powerful. And I call that my warrior woman beat. And sometimes they add in some extra beats, what drummers call fills. I'm like, how do they even know? It just happens. And now, given there's some people there that, they're not going to be rock stars. That's not the whole purpose of this. I'm not teaching people to go on tour with Santana or Bruno Mars anytime soon, although that would be cool. I'm just teaching you how to use a very easy and affordable tool anytime you need it. If you need to blow off some stress, or if you can't focus, you need to tap on a drum. So I tell them, remember the following. Take a breath, take a break, and tap out some beats, even if it's just on your legs. It's just different.
I'm so fascinated. I am just in awe right now. And I know that all of our listeners are going, what? Yeah. But I love that you defined that you're not just a drum circle, because that would be a tragedy for people not to understand all the things that you can do to help them heal. Right. Now, I also noticed you mentioned that it can help memory. Can you shed some light on that, please?
Sure. It's so fascinating. There's so much research behind this, and I love discovering, more and more studies that back up what drummers have known all along. But hey, they don't take us seriously. There's so many dumb drummer jokes out there, by the way. All right, here you go, real quick. What did the drummer get on his IQ test? You ready? Drool. I'll be here all week. Hey, tip your waitstaff and hey, try to be. But yeah, they don't take us seriously, but we know that different things happen when we're drumming, and it does recalibrate things. So in my case, after the accident, remember I was mixing up words for things? That was called temporary aphasia. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know that I had a concussion and whiplash. Nobody picked that. I was walking around with a concussion for a year. It would have been nice to know. Excuse me, I would have made some changes. So I needed to fire up the left side of my brain. And I knew this from all my years of tutoring. Left side of your brain is where language resides. And math. So that's why my tutoring students did really well when they worked with me, even before the drumming. But both tutoring and coaching clients did better when I added the drumming in. And here's why. It wakes up the left side of your brain, and in my case, so I could access words. And that's why that young man on the spectrum, I told the mom, do you realize what happened here? She said, no. And I said, we opened up his neural pathways.
Yes.
So language came in. And he was young, really, really young. So, I've older students, I haven't had this happen. But the younger ones, they seem to be more open. So you can definitely access memories. When I work with seniors, especially I've gone to senior facilities. Not only have I seen people, I saw Mr. B, I'll call him. He had a stroke. I did not know this. I did not know he had multiple strokes. All I knew was his aide said, oh my gosh, Mr. B is using his right hand and he's smiling. I said, yeah, this is fun. She said, you don't understand. He's never done either.
Wow.
Whoa. And then memories, a gentleman, okay, maybe he was flirting with me a little bit, but he said, hey, bonjour, mademoiselle, parlez-vous français? As a matter of fact, I'm a French major. So he and I had an interesting conversation, and I asked him, when was the last time you used your French? This was after the drum session. He goes, oh my gosh, it's been decades. So he suddenly remembered his French. Now, when I add in songs from their era, and anybody who works with seniors, please tell me you're doing this. Don't bring out inappropriate tunes, and I've seen this on Instagram. that are not appropriate for kids or seniors, really. So, but if you bring out songs from their era, you can ask them questions. Oh, because they can see their eyes light up. There's actually a documentary on this. And I wish I could remember it. Something inside. And they remember what they were doing when they were, dancing to that song. Tell me more. And memories are unlocked because music is one area of your brain that it doesn't go away. So, all those tunes that, what they call earworms, they're stuck in your head for a long time. So I can start singing a song from way back when, and they'll sing along. They remember all the lyrics. They might not remember their daughter's name, but they remember the lyrics and they'll remember where they were when they heard that song. Amazing.
That is amazing. And it's interesting because I have observed elderly people singing songs that really don't have the wherewithal of the current situation. So
Yes.
you just explained it to me. That's wonderful. Wonderful.
And it's amazing to see them light up because it's like,
Oh, yes.
all of a sudden, it almost seemed like, they were in a fog and sleeping. And then it's like, oh,
Yeah.
they're back. For that
Yeah.
moment, they were back.
Isn't that
Yeah.
wonderful? Wonderful. So last question is, do you do your practice online? Is that something you do?
Yes, I have worked with people all over the world thanks to the power of Zoom. My private clients in the US, I can ship a djembe drum in the color of their choice because I am affiliated with the Toca Percussion Company as a Toca Percussion artist and distributor. I get a good deal. So that is included in their two-month package. They can always sign up and re-up month to month after that. But I tell them, give me 8 weeks because it usually takes about that long for things to sink in. It's a very repetitive thing, and you have to, practice on a consistent basis. You can't go to the gym once and expect to lose 50 pounds, people. So yeah, so that helps. Now, the people who are abroad, though, will just go online and I'll tell them exactly what kind of drum they need and where they can order it from. I had a client in London who did that and I got him a really good price on that. And yeah, they do need to have a drum on their end to see the kind of results that
To
they need
get the vibrations, I'm sure. Yeah.
Right, because especially the djembe drum, again, it's not my most favorite drum to play, to be perfectly honest, but it has the best vibrations along with the buffalo drum. The two of them, of all the drums in this room, not only are the easiest to play, but they emit the most vibrations.
That is so awesome. I am so excited to understand all of these things. I met you many years ago and I knew you did, but I didn't understand the back part of it, the science and the healing part of it. And I'm delighted to hear how you do that. So I understand you have a little something for our listeners. And if you just want to give me a snippet of what that is, we'll make sure we have it in all the show notes.
Oh, sure, yeah. I have a lot of things. Actually, I have to remember what I gave you. It's a blog post about the benefits of drumming. Also on my website, I do have a free gift if they needed to have some enhanced video action there. I do have a 5-minute video that people who sign up for my newsletter will receive about stress relief tips. So either one, take your pick.
That's great. No, that's really good because I think with your explanation of exactly how the vibrations and just drumming in itself heals. I mean, I'm still sort of fascinated with how you drummed over your injuries. That's just gold to me. That is a real gem. But thank you so much. I so appreciate you being here. And I hope to see you again sometime on the show because this is awesome. This is really awesome.
Thank you so much for having me, Peggy. It's great to reconnect after all these years, number one, and also to be given the opportunity to explain what cannot be explained in a 30-second elevator pitch at a networking meeting. It's like they're never going to get this.
You're absolutely right. And I'm so glad that you had the opportunity to share this with our audience. And I know everybody's going to be so delighted with this. So thank you again. And I'll close the session now.
Sure thing. Keep on rocking.
Thanks for listening and supporting the Professional Women's Wellness Podcast. If you would like to attend training sessions by our amazing podcast guests and have a chance to connect, join the Professional Women's Wellness newsletter. For more details and to sign up, scan the QR code or click the link in the description. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a 5-star rating on Apple Podcast. Each week, we will select a reviewer who will receive free access to my $197 course, Goodbye Night Bites, a 30-day journey to stop emotional eating at night. Please subscribe to get notifications of future episodes.